Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Masters of Health. We have a new guest. Guess what? Oh my gosh, we diversifying. We have a man. So, greetings, everyone. I would like to introduce our latest guest, Coach AD. I got the right side. Coach AD. So, tell us, Coach AD, tell us about yourself.
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you. Thank you for having me. I am a personal trainer and personal development coach from New York, from the Bronx, New York, born and bred. Um, and man, my thing is simple, man. I like to help people figure out what they want, figure out the way to get there, and then do the work. It's really that straightforward, no big pitch. Just if you want to get it done, let's get it done, and let's figure out the best way to get it there.
Right. I remember that phrase, get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we do have some history, so I mean that makes sense.
So, just for everybody, some background. Adrien is my former personal trainer. Miss you. Right. So that's how we met. So Adrien does a lot of work with physical fitness. A trainer at she Fafa place, but I liked it. Equinox.
Used to be. Yeah.
It used to be, right. I don't know what's happening right now. I've been doing my own thing. Juicing and stuff like that, fasting. It works.
Yeah. You gotta find the method that works for you. There's no one formula, That's what makes the job really interesting. That nobody's the same. So you have to constantly keep trying to find new creative ways to solve the problem, whatever that problem is.
Yeah. I knew it was coming. It's a bit choppy. Yeah, I don't know what's happening this strong or today. I don't know if it's internet. Let me do this. I'm gonna try closing down some devices. Okay. Maybe it's the internet. It's a little bit choppy. Yeah. You went dark, Adrien.
I switched out my Wi-Fi. Yeah, I switched out of my Wi-Fi and now I'm just on the help thing.
Your Wi-Fi.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So it's because actually I can see it blinking as well on my end. We having another repeat. We're having a repeat of the time when we talked about financial health. Is it still choppy? Greetings, Emma Precious. How are you? Is it still choppy? I'll wait because we're 20 seconds. There's a 20-second delay, so I'll just wait. But in the meantime, I'll wait for the response. But in the meantime, we're gonna keep going.
Yes.
So explain a little bit now. So Coach AD, explain a little bit now about what you do. Like, what is your profession and how is it related to health?
So it's two parts, right? There is the traditional personal training, physically getting people to look how they want to look, feel how they want to feel. Been doing that for close to 20 years. The personal development for i.e. life coaching, right? That's what a lot of people will throw that in. That's more of a 360 approach. I look at it as, right? Is your mind, your body, and your will, which is my 3-step process. We address your mind, your body, and your perseverance, your willpower. That helps, which determines whether or not when you get into a tough spot, whether or not you're able to push through those difficult moments. And so the physical part of it can often be simple enough. And I say that loosely, right? Because everybody has their struggles with with what they may want themselves to look like versus what their body is allowing them to do. But the physical part of it is I basically determine what kind of movement you need to do that's going to burn the most amount of calories or and elicit the most amount of muscle growth or what have you. That's one thing. That's pretty straightforward, right? I can only do but so much in that space. The person has to do it for themselves. They got to make that choice and do the work. In the personal development space, there's a lot more discovery in terms of what are the challenges that you're really facing, right? And what are preventing you from being able to accomplish your goals, whether it be professional goals, personal goals, physical goals, emotional goals. And so over the last, 10 years or so, I've been bridging the two, and it's been such fulfilling work. I love what I do, and I love being able to do it for, people that look like me. That's just real bottom line talk. There's not enough of us getting these type of services and helping us continue to move ourselves forward.
Yeah, because like being unhealthy seems to be normal, right? For a lot of spaces where people have melanin, you know, and there's like acceptance of obesity. I was part of that crew. It's like, oh, I'm just a little thick. No, that's not a little thick. If the chart says obese, that's what it means. So it's like you have to be like honest and have like sober assessments about ourselves, right?
Yeah. And I think that's part of the thing that I've really enjoyed with the personal development work is that it forces the individual on the other side to have to do a real honest assessment, man. You know, I think, you know, as a, you know, I joke about this with people all the time as a trainer. I say, you know, they're like, hey, do you work out with your clients? And I'm like, no. Why would I do that? And they're like, what you mean? You should inspire and motivate them. I was like, well, let me clarify one thing. I'm not here to motivate anyone. And when I say that, people are gonna be like, whoa, what do you mean? It's like, it is very difficult to motivate another human being to do something. My job is to remind someone that they came to me and said they wanted something. They wanted something. I ain't want it. They wanted it, right? So yeah, it is not my goal. It's your goal. So you told me you didn't want to look this way. You wanted to feel better. Cool. All I'm going to do is say, you remember the thing you said to me when you had come and said you wanted to do the thing? You remember that? Let's go do the thing. How about that? How about let's just go do the thing, right? It's not me having to sit there and be like, come on, you can do it. And listen, don't get me wrong. There are times when you have to get people fired up and excited about their process, obviously. But I don't, if I have to do that for 20, 30, 40 people, then I have nothing left, right? So what became important was for me to recognize, especially you know, trainers who start early in their careers and then later on, you start to notice the difference between a senior trainer and a seasoned trainer and a trainer who's new. Seasoned, a key example of a newer trainer is that they're doing every workout with their client.
What do you mean every workout?
So they're working out with their client.
Oh.
Right. No.
Like running along on the treadmill with them?
Like you're doing squats, I'm doing squats. Like we're in a fitness class.
Right.
If you want a fitness class, go to a fitness class. If you're working with a trainer, my job is to be able to make sure that one, you're able to do the movements that you need to do to be able to get the thing done and that you don't get hurt. How am I going to observe you doing the job right and make sure you don't get hurt if I'm doing it too? That don't make sense. Now I'm getting all exhausted and winded. You getting exhausted and winded. I can't pay attention to you. Right?
So would you say it's like you have to have some knowledge, wisdom, and an understanding of what the client needs to do so that, and then you can then teach it to them. If you're doing it too, really doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
Right. So a lot of times people can mimic well, right? People can pretend and follow along well, but that doesn't mean that they actually understand what they're doing, right? And so, you know, one of the things I learned early in my career by a mentor, he was like, you should be able to verbally communicate to someone what they need to do, allow their brain to process that, and then make it their own. A lot of the work I do is about making sure that people are processing what they say they want. They're engaging in the process fully for themselves, not because I'm making them do it. I don't want to be anybody. I got two boys. I got two kids, and clearly I live in an area where it gets active.
It's okay. We have all sorts of sounds on this show. I'm choppy today, so you know it fits right in.
I got two kids. They're the only ones that I need to worry about instructing on how to live their life. Grown folk, go be grown. Now, I'm going to assist you in the process of trying to get something done. And I'll be honest with you, Deidre, part of what I think has happened too is as I started to step more into the coaching space and stepping out of the trainer space, this became more of the dialogue. When you think of coach, right, you think of sports, right? And quite often in that space, you see a coach and he has a group of players. The coach cannot go on the court or in the field and play the game for the team or the players.
Right.
Right? Their job is they got to coach. That means they got to be able to observe, process, and then convert that information so that the person who's the athlete can receive it in a way that's going to impact their ability to execute. And
Mm-hmm.
so my job now, and how I love the work I do, is really to coach people to wellness, not just physical health in terms of their physical well-being, but also wellness in their life as a whole. Sometimes it may mean I'm spending way too much money when I don't need to. Sometimes it may mean I'm not eating the way I'm supposed to. Sometimes it means I'm not sleeping as much as I'm supposed to. Sometimes it means I'm associating with individuals that ain't good for me and I need to make some changes in. Sometimes I'm in the job I ain't supposed to be in, right? And like, if you're telling me the goal is to feel fulfilled, and I can extract with you what those things that are not fulfilling you are, I can then in turn tell you, hey, all right, then there's some things we can do here to change that course.
Yeah.
And it's been a eye-opening experience, and it's also been a relief, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to not feel that I am responsible for someone's success. I'm not. I
Yeah.
am here to aid them in the process of them achieving their own
Yeah.
success.
Yeah. You have to want it for yourself. I had to learn
Yeah,
that the hard
yeah,
way. Like,
yeah,
nobody
yeah,
like walk you across the finish line. You have to want it,
yeah,
and if you want it bad enough, then the change will be made. And if not, then you'll be stuck and you'll stay where you are and maybe die alone or with your cats,
yeah.
you know.
You know, one of the things that I also, as much as I say these things about like it's your goal, it's your objective, it's your path, it's your journey. I also say that you don't have to do it alone, right? My job is to be there as your guide through the process, right? Um, and also tell people that it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. The greatest amount of learning you're going to do in your life is when you fail,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you won all the time, I think, everyone talks about Michael Jordan being probably one of the greatest of all time, period, right? Across the board, athlete, just this consummate pro, right? In terms of
Yeah.
like achieving goals. And
Mm-hmm.
Jordan would not be Jordan if he didn't fail for like 6, 8 years. He failed at winning championships. Failed. But every failure meant there was a new lesson. There was an opportunity for him to grow, learn, be better, make an adjustment, apply that adjustment, see what came from that adjustment, then reapply and then relearn. And I think too often we and I see this often in my work, people want quick results, but they're not ready to do the work. You got to do the work. And that means sometimes you're going to suck, but it's okay. It's all right. It's an acceptable thing. It's a message I say to people all the time. You have to be prepared to accept the suck before you can get the success, right? Like you have to like wrap your head around like I'm going to suck before I succeed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of the work I do is around that and addressing the fact that we live in these food, deserts where people can't get healthy food. How do we make the adjustments?
Yeah.
Do I beat myself up because I wanted a hamburger? No, don't beat yourself up because you wanted a hamburger, but just make sure we getting a good hamburger. Like it's all right. You can have a hamburger. Are you
Mm-hmm.
eating a hamburger every day? Okay,
Maybe
maybe that might be a
plant-based,
little bit of a problem.
maybe a plant-based burger.
I've had a couple Beyond burgers that were better than any regular beef burger that I've ever had. To be honest with you, right? I'm
You know,
not I'm not an advocate of one thing or the other, but just saying.
yeah, because I was like, well, I have a feeling it's the lab food. I'm like, I don't know. And I have tried it, and I will not. When I had it, because this was in the beginning of my plant-based journey, and I
Right,
was like, kind of all I was like, just don't eat meat.
right,
And so I did try. I think I tried a Beyond Burger, whatever the other brand was,
right.
and it was really good.
Yeah,
It was really good, and I had to like do a little research on it. It's like some of this stuff is made in labs, it's synthesized, and
right.
it's like, okay, look for the more natural things. So even that, like the education.
Right.
So what I was gonna move on to next was, usually I ask my guests, what area of health does your profession cover? And in the realm of like public health, there's like stuff, there's like health law,
Mm-hmm.
social and behavioral, all these other things. And I think under social and behavioral, that's where we kind of fit in here. And there's
Mm-hmm.
like food and nutrition, where we talked about like, obesity, like really addressing what we call like social determinants of health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like in a nutshell, that's what you do. Like, you're like one of those like soldiers on the ground, like, this is what I'm gonna do to help
Yeah.
my people.
Yeah.
You know. So
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit about that, like, you know, contributing to that, you know, and even like what you see, you know, we talked about obesity is rampant, hypertension is rampant, diabetes, all those things, heart disease, you know, there's like it's like triad or either five. I can never remember the Fab Five, like things that people who, you know, melanated people suffer from. And so like doing a lot of the fitness and personal development addresses that.
Yeah. You know, it's an unfortunate thing, right? Because you know, you tend to find yourself in a situation, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? And all too often what you find, especially when I'm dealing with people of color, not just, you know, just black folks, but just people who ethnically come from different places, the ex, the expected standard of what your diet is supposed to look like can vary so much, right? The size of your plate, um, what a meal consists of, right? I've had to do so much educating on what a meal actually means, right? Anytime you consume something, you bring something into your body's going to register that as fuel, i.e., a meal. Period. Right? You know, these ideas of breakfast, lunch, dinner, those are constructs we put in place to actually create social norms, right? Like to create these spaces where we can gather for breakfast, we can gather for lunch, we can gather for dinner. These are ways to break up our living. And so getting people to understand that, like, one, consuming more consistently throughout the course of your day is actually better for you than having large meals, right? Especially when you're not being physically active all the time. Once upon a time, we were not the society we're in now, where, like, yeah, you would leave the house and you'd go toil and be in the field. So you needed to have a large breakfast to give you fuel, and you'd be doing that for the next 5 hours, not
Mm-hmm.
8, 9, 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put that in context, right? And
Right.
so, but
Yeah.
these were,
But
you
those
know, life
eight,
was
nine,
different.
10 hours are sitting, a lot of people sitting.
And they're sedentary, right? You're being very sedentary, and you're not getting an opportunity to actually rest properly at times because you're not sleeping well. All these things. So you start to recognize that, unfortunately, when you're on the ground, you really do see the actual causes of these ailments. Mental health being a huge part of it, right? That impacts your ability for the rest of your body. That's why I often talk about the mind body as a combination with and will, because, you know, if I mentally can't get you where you need to be, your body will not follow. There's just no way around that. Your internal organs will continue to function to a degree, but if you become brain dead, it's
Yeah.
only going to rock for so long,
Yeah.
right?
Where the mind goes, the body follows.
Right. So for me, one of the things I see, and I think is of huge importance, is increasing the education around wellness from young, early in the game, like talking about what's in your health class, what's happening in social studies, in terms of understanding what is best practices for best health. I don't always think that our society is uh, wants that. I think there's some elements of, the more people aren't well, the more they have to spend money on things to make them well, right? Um, and so there's, I think, countermeasures in place. But one of the biggest things I think that we need to really emphasize is educating our children early about the importance of taking care of themselves, and then practicing that, you know. And I think if you have to go through the process of educating and then giving them an example, you can actually start to see some tremendous change in households. Um, but to that same end, when you're in an area where economically people are having a hard time, they don't have the same access to the resources, same access to high quality food, or the leisure time to actually make some of these things possible. And I think, you know, those are things that we should start looking into addressing.
Yeah. I just want to take a quick break and just acknowledge the chat really quick. Greetings,
No worries.
everyone. Peace,
What's going on,
Alfred
everybody?
E. Welcome, Naya. Peace, Precious. Oh, we said Peace, Precious was helpful with the choppiness. I'm sure it's still there, but willingly it's like intermittent. Greetings, Chief. Thank you for joining us. And I think that's it so far. So just so you know, the chat, sometimes there are questions, so we'll engage with them
I'd
as
love
there
to
are
answer any
questions.
of them, any of them.
Okay, great, great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so but right now I got the question.
Go. Yeah.
I'm
Let's get busy. Let's do the thing.
Okay, so one of the things, so we talked about what you do, and like what part of like health your profession covers. A question that I had, what was your career path? What led you here? Like we talked about
Hmm.
the personal training, but I like to start from like itty bitty baby, but you don't have to start from there. But
Yeah.
what got you to here? Because part of this show is like it's almost like advising people who are interested in public health, right? So it's giving them a glimpse into the many different pathways they can take. Like that's the good thing about it. Like you can do whatever you want, because there's always a connection.
Right.
So what was your career path like?
I went to Brown, and I dropped out and started my own marketing company. And I was a nerdy kid who liked computers in the late '90s, early 2000s, right? And I got good at them, and so I was working at some of the top 5 financial firms, on the support end, right? And it was just I came out of a good school, and was able to kind of, I have some skills, so I was able to just drop myself in. But what I recognized quickly was that I don't really want to be sitting at a desk, uh, my all my time, and so that was part of it. And then I'm also a creative. I've been performing and things of the like since I was 11, 12 years old. So it was part of that experience of like wanting some more free time, not wanting to be sitting at a desk all the time, that an opportunity presented itself. I was a former athlete, or I'm an athlete, and it just kind of came together where it was like, hey, this is an opportunity. Would you be willing or interested? And I'd never turned back. I think the thing that set for me though early was that I was always a person of service. I always liked to be able to help others. You know what I mean? Like I was always about, one of the things that was interesting is when I went into college, I thought I was going to go and be a trader. I was going to go the finance route. I come from a West Indian family. I'm Haitian. I'm Haitian American, and so it was one of them things. It's like, yo, you go to college to get a job. You don't go to
Mm-hmm.
college to explore your interests. Ain't
Mm-hmm.
nobody got time for your interests.
To a
Um,
doctor, a lawyer, or a nurse. Get it
yeah,
together.
and you know what's so funny? I'm glad you brought that up. We thought there were like 5, 6 jobs growing up. Like there was like, I was like, I was like, I can only be a lawyer, doctor, a teacher, a police officer, and like as you get older, you realize that there's a person to do everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to be the person who just knows about peanut butter, there's somebody who does that. Their whole thing is to research peanut butter, know everything in the world about peanut butter, and like
Yeah,
I was like, what? I could have just been paid to be studying peanut
peanut butter.
butter. I mean, I would have got a
Peanut.
grant. You know what I mean? And so as I started to like explore these things, man, it became apparent that one, my skill set was geared to do things with people, not to sit in an office, but to be in front of other humans. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was to take something that I've learned and then give it immediately back to someone else, right? I read this thing, I now can take it and exercise it immediately. I can apply it immediately to help somebody's life. That was really the game changer for me. And then there was no turning back after that. It was a no brainer.
Yeah, yeah, that is interesting you say that because I came to find out as that service is one of the best things that you can do for your mental health.
Yeah.
Like being in service to others. It's so interesting. Like um I can't remember like what the percentage is, but like there's like definitely like there's endorphins released when you're doing something that's for the benefit of someone
Hmm.
other than the person right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people miss out on that. Like, and that is really a part of public health. Like when we're talking about public health, a lot of public health jobs are social service,
Right.
and that is like it's an energy booster. It makes you feel good about yourself to like do something for someone that ain't you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That the fulfillment that comes from being of service, you can't really compare to anything else in the world. Especially if you're or like just naturally inclined to be that person. So yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah. I know some people like that. Um. So. What. tell us about a day in the life. Like, what does that integration look like, or that application look like
of my profession? More times than not, you're waking up, already knowing you got to look at your calendar or be aware of your calendar before going to sleep that you have X amount of appointments. So you're already like, all right, I got this client scheduled, this client scheduled, this client scheduled. The sessions themselves will consist of what they consist of. You create your programming, you make sure that program is consistent for someone over a period of time to get to their result. Yeah. I think the part that often people don't register is that you're running a business, right? And that you have to actually generate interest in your business. You have to market yourself. Anyone who takes a look at my social media, my IG especially, you could tell that's the job. My IG is my job. It ain't. It's it's not for play.
Ain't no game.
No, I'm here to inform you. I'm here to educate you and give you access to resources so that you can make decisions to better your life. And so when a lot of the time is sitting down with my marketing team and making sure that we have things lined up the way they need to, reaching out to clients and ensuring that they're staying on track, circling back to old clients who stopped for a while and they took a break or what have you, and then having those conversations with them, and then having circumstances like this where I'm connecting with other individuals who are in the wellness space, the public health space, and starting to figure out how we can collaborate to try to create opportunities. And so it's multi-pronged. It's funny. I left Equinox, during COVID, and shout out to them. They gave me an amazing start to my career and gave me so many gifts. And people were like, "Well, now you got more free time," and I was like, "Have you ever run a business? have you ever done this? I'm no one's employee anymore."
Something about trying to run a business. All I have is these YouTube channels, and I'm like, I am crazy right now.
You on all the time,
Yes,
you never not
on.
thinking about it.
There's no off switch. Maybe when I sleep.
People talk about, it's funny, people love to vacation, right? People are like, yeah, I want to go take a trip, especially now with airfares being so low, and people are like, let me take advantage of going to, what's the place in Mexico everybody been going to? Cabo? Is it Cabo? No. Tulum. Everybody been going to Tulum.
Oh, yes, I have seen that.
Tulum has been a popular location, right? Now, for a person like me, if I go to Tulum and I don't actually have clients who are willing to train with me remotely, and I do have a lot of remote training clients, fortunately, that trip to Tulum costs me not only the cost of the trip, but it costs me on time with a client, and getting paid for that time away. So I have to plan differently. Even the vacation, when you work for someone else, they give you paid time off. So you're off.
Yeah.
And you're still getting paid.
Yeah.
When you have your own business, there's no time off.
Yeah. And you get used to that. Like, that's where I'm in that space. It's like you get used to it. So it's like when it's time to have that entrepreneurial break, it requires like discipline. Like I haven't even done that yet. I'm not yet there, but things are in progress. Because I'm still doing like learn up and like skill building. So, but when I get to that space, I'm already like prepping and I'm realizing like, oh, there's a lot. We have a question in the chat.
Please.
So I'm gonna chat. So Chief Yuya asks, how do you sustain ethical integrity in your work when facing the pervasiveness of common public delusion and need for gratuitous ego stroking and bonsoir, sakwase, and all that?
Sakafet, man. All right. That was a well phrased question. Listen, I think when you go into anything that you are passionate about, you always, and I believe this, you're always working from the best place with best intention. And so if I stay true to that, right? And so I'll have clients who will come to me and say, I want to have a 6-pack. And I could tell them, I got you a 6-pack and I'll do it for you in 8 months. Buy the package. Buy it now. And listen, I tell people right out the gate, I'm like, I'm not going to promise you anything I can't do. I'm not here for that. I don't need your money. Let's be very clear about this. Money is helpful for me to accomplish things, but I don't need to lie to anybody to get their money so that I can make my business successful. The work speaks for itself. And so I try to just be honest with people, but also I use it as an opportunity to educate. You know what I mean? I think people will come to you and they'll ask for some ridiculous goals. And they're like, I had, I'll tell you a story. I had someone who came to me and I was working and I work with a plastic surgery company and I work with them because I think there are people who can benefit and want to have plastic surgery. So why am I going to act like there's not a space for me to then assist those people so that they can do it right? And more importantly, when they come out of surgery, be able to sustain, not bounce back. You went and got the BBL, you know.
That's ass. You work with BBL patients or
Yeah,
people?
But like, if it's a process with the
What,
BBL, but
okay.
it's a process. But this one, and mind you, I'm working with a company that's their money is made from getting people to sign on and get these things done. But at the end of the day, I have to be honest with those individuals who say, I need to get my BMI down to a particular number. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And you got to do it right. Because if you do certain things and you lose weight too fast, you're going to put your body into shock. And now all of a sudden you're sitting on, you're laying on a surgeon's table and your body's responding improperly to the procedure and you don't make it out. It's not worth it to me. I want you here. You could be a little squishy for a little bit. If that means you here, we can work on getting you down and getting you to the right place versus getting you to just lose 50 pounds because we put you on a starvation diet, made your body go through shock, and now you on that table getting sick. It's not worth it. So for me, it's staying true to my principles. I think if you do anything correctly in life, it usually takes time. You have to commit yourself to consistency in the process. And me wanting to get your money is not going to be enough for me to want to change that process. So I hope that answered the question, my man Chief. Is that what's his name, Chief?
Chief, yeah. What about
Chief
the
Yuya.
gratuitous ego stroking? Like,
Listen,
man.
People are looking at Instagram. They're looking at the magazines. And there still are magazines out there. People, for those who think that magazines no longer exist, they like there's still images constantly being thrown at you that tell you that this is what sexy is, this is what attractive is, and people want to look hot. And I say, hey, if you want that to be your goal, cool. I got no problem with that. But there's a way to go about it. Also, when it comes right down to it, are you structured for that? If you are genetically a mesomorph versus an ectomorph, and these are different body types, right? One is naturally going to be more broad. One of them is going to be a little bit more narrow in their build. You've seen these. You've seen people walk down the street that no matter what they do, they don't always look thin. Mm-hmm. Some people, no matter what they do, they're always going to look. We always talk about you got big bones, right? Mm-hmm. That big boned thing. It's because your genetic structure is that of someone who is intended to be larger, because people come in different shapes and sizes. It's fine. If you come to me and say, hey, I'm 6'2", and I'm 180, 85 pounds, and you want to try to make yourself 6'5", 275, I'm gonna tell you, well, I can't make you 6'5". I'm not, I can't change what genetically is structured there, but we can make you look the best 6'2" at whatever weight it comes down to. We can make it be. And so that's why I usually change the metrics. I get off the pounds. I get more into body fat percentage. I talk about, whether or not you're feeling healthy, how, your best practices in terms of how you exist, and start getting away from these measures that are inconsequential. Because at the end of the day, whether you're 125 pounds or 225 pounds, if you're not healthy, you might not make it to the next day. So all of that is for what? You can have a six pack and still find yourself sick, and that's not going to help you. So, so I try to address the ego piece, but also recognize that you may have to reprogram someone's thinking a little bit.
Yeah. And what about like when it gets difficult?
Like, you mean when they push back?
Yeah.
You remember what I said earlier? My job ain't here to motivate you. My job is to remind you that you said you wanted something. That's when that comes into full effect. Listen, I'll tell people honestly, I've fired clients. Oh, please don't get me confused. Okay, my peace of mind is important. Okay, if I'm working with one person and they are sapping my energy, and I have 15 other people that are dependent on me showing up and being able to work for them, I'm going to say, hey, this one person cannot deplete me to the point where I can't help these other 15. That's unacceptable. So, sometimes you just say, hey, our style doesn't match, your way and my way don't connect. It's fine. Let's part ways. I'll often actually try to find them someone else who may be a bit more suited for them.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's just a conversation of saying, hey, man, what do you want? Okay, this is what I understood. This is what it's going to be required to get there. If you don't want to do that, then don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't. It's not my goal. It's your goal, right? And then this is kind of a societal thing too. You got to take responsibility for the things you want. It's not on anybody else to do the work. You have to do that work. So I remind people that. Do the work if you want it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Chief US says, excellent response. Thank you. Clearly, you have to be able to navigate the course of those who want to respect getting healthy process and those who want to be healthy instant gratification. Yeah, there's a respect to it. I had to learn that because I was Miss Instant Gratification. I want a lot of things quickly. I'm just like FOMO is. A lot of those things have shifted.
And
there was some grow moments.
Yeah, and what I thought was dope is because we worked together for years, and we had moments where we saw good progress, and then other moments where it would swing. And I think that when you turned to me and you said, "Hey, I'm going to take a different approach," and started to just say, I'm going to take ownership of this thing. Listen, as much as I love the work we did together, I was like, hallelujah, amen. Okay? I was yes, sister. Yes, sister. Go ahead. Do that.
Yes, sister.
Yes. Because at the end of the day, it's yours. I want you to take ownership of your journey, and I want you to be able to empower yourself to say that I'm going to be able to make the change I want. Once that happens, actually, when I end up reconnecting with clients after they do that, then we actually see the greatest strides, because the part of the process that's mine, I will handle. But the part that's theirs has to be theirs. And I'm only with you. If we see each other 3 times a week, that's only 3 hours. 24 hours in a day, we give you 8 for sleep. Do the math on that.
All those other times.
You got 16 hours that's, 16 hours you got to do something with, and you only going to give me 3 of those in the course of, you know what I'm saying? So when you do the math on that, there's way more time where you're with you and less time than you're with me for the result that you want to happen. You have to take ownership. So I think that's become a big part of it, like helping people own their process and supporting them through it. And so I wanted to say that to you. Very proud of the work you've done. I've seen the results. I've seen the shift.
I had help. It was not by myself. I know there was definitely
community.
guidance.
We all need community, But the fact that you, well, good job to the community that held you down.
Yes. So thank you for telling us about a day in the life of. Give us a pro. I always ask this. Give us a pro, and then something you wish you could change about what you do.
The pro, really being able to take something like give back, something that's it's an immediate give back, right? I can literally right here, right now, teach you something that you can apply right now. That immediate return is so gratifying. You know what I mean? And then to watch that person then apply it and have the aha moment. Oh man, there's nothing better in the world when you're just like, hey, by the way, if you did this, it'll make it easier. And they're like, oh, you're right. That is for the amount of stress I get of like, hey, show up on time, da 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 da. To just have them have the moment of being like, yo, I get it now, AD. Like, I get it, coach. Like, got you, copy. But a thing that I wish were different, I wish people would be more open-minded to the help, to getting some help. Pro athletes, one of the things you hear often is like, I could do it on my own. I'll do it by myself. Here's the reality. If I'm having a conversation with you, you haven't done it by yourself. That's usually, I'm not in conversations pitching myself to people. I'm having a conversation with someone who's already telling me I want to do something. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And then they're like, but let me start off by myself first. And then then I'm gonna call you next Thursday after the Saturday that came before that. And then, and I'm like, all right, that's, it's really, if the top athletes in the world who make millions of dollars doing their sport and have been doing it their whole lives get help and have coaches,
They do.
Why do you think it's different for someone like you? Now, I get it. This person financially, you think, is in a place where you can't achieve that. But I would like to remind people that if they were more knowledgeable, they would actually recognize that the services of a coach or a trainer is actually a lot more affordable. What often happens is we value things that aren't as important as our health, right? We value bags. We value getting online for a pair of $350 sneakers. We value, popping bottles when we were in the club. And I think people are still popping bottles, even in the underground clubs, And so like, what clubs are open back up? But you know what I'm saying? I think we value using our money in that way, and we don't see the same value in using our income to generate a longer, higher quality of life. And so I wish that could change, that people start to understand that, if you're spending, $100 on a session with a trainer, and that $100 is, $200 a week, $800 a month. But if you think about how much money you throw away in putting junk in your body, and that, I would always train people and tell them, I'm not training you for right now. I'm training you for when you're 75. Right. So I'll get a person who's 35 and I'm like, I'm training you for 75. And they're like, but right now I want abs. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a byproduct of the work. But at 75, are you living a high quality, high value life? Are you moving around how you want to move? Are you being able to be active with your great grandkids and your grandkids at that age? What's amazing when you see somebody who's 85, 90 years old, still getting busy, still moving around, still doing their thing, still looking good. You know what I mean? Not being laid up, not having to have no diapers, not having to have nobody have to like walk them all over the place. And I'm not, no shots to anybody who that's what's happened, right? There's reasons, but there's things you can do to prevent that. So that investment, you know what I'm saying? You invest in your longevity. So I wish that would change, and I think it's starting to change. We've seen it over the last decade. Health has become the new wealth. So I think we're seeing that turn in our society a little bit.
Yeah, we have some comments. So Precious Stephanie says, that's a great point, Coach AD. Ownership is key when striving towards success. And Chief US says, true, Precious Stephanie. Even the owning of your own potential vulnerabilities that may lead to burnout, as you mentioned, Coach AD. Suffering a contentious client can completely derail the spirit of a business.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was, as you were speaking, it was taking me back to what you said before. If someone's sapping your energy, it's like, look, I got like you have a family, you have you have 2 children, a wife, there's people depending on you and the other clients who are actually paying you. So there's people that you are dependent on you to like bring them up, and then so that they can be able to function and be functioning adults in the world. And
ain't nobody got time for energy vampires, man. Ain't nobody got time for energy vampires. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. I rebuke you.
Some garlic. Queen Visa says, that's true. I saw a video of an 85-year-old man skateboarding, agility intact and all. Yeah, I can see it. There's this guy on Instagram. He roller skates and he's clearly a senior citizen.
I love him.
I'm like, hey, I'm like, that's where I need to be. And that's where it was like, it literally was that, not even just like the ownership part, but like just hearing like, you got to get it together, So it's just like, okay. And then acknowledging, do I want the diseases that run rampant in my family? Do I want that to be a byproduct or a consequence of not taking ownership?
Right.
No.
Right.
So we have to make some changes.
Right.
So now we got like, cuts in the cheek and stuff. There's a neck.
Yeah.
All that
Skin looking good. You know what I'm saying? Like, all them things. Yeah.
So yeah. And that is the, that's the reward when you see the results. That is the reward. Like it's everything can't be instant gratification. Delayed gratification is like the best thing going. It's the best thing going.
What's wild is I think we as a culture, and I think this is globally. I don't think this is specific to people of color. I think this is globally. we have become so accustomed to the benefits of technology that we've lost the appreciation of the process. If there's a thing I would want people to take away whenever I work with them, is that don't be so worried about the end result. Lock into the process. Lock into the journey, because what'll happen is sometimes the person will come to you and say, "Hey, I want to lose 25 pounds." You're like, "All right, cool. We'll shoot for the 25 pounds." And then they do it, and they lost 10. And at 10, they look better now than they ever did when they were 25 pounds lighter previously in their life, right?
Yeah.
They feel better. They have more sense. They have more self-confidence. They're more aware. And like, so that 25 didn't matter. It was getting through that process of making the changes and starting to incorporate them into your life and embracing them as being part of your new lifestyle that really mattered more. So don't worry about, like, sometimes you think you want to go somewhere until you start going down that road and you're like, "Oh, what's this over here?" And you make a left, and that left was really where you were supposed to go. You get put on track, and I'm a spiritual man. So, I believe that God usually sets us down a path that's meant to send us where we're supposed to go. It may not be where we want to go, but it's where we're supposed to go, right? And so if we can really start enjoying the process more and being more committed to that, I think we end up finding ourselves in a place of being not only just more fulfilled, but just generally feeling more accomplished as a whole, So that's just my little 2 cents,
Yeah, no, give thanks for your 2 cents. So, final question. I always ask this, and it's usually like, what advice would you give an MPH student? But this is very like encompassing of life, right? And health should be your life, a big part of it. So, what advice would you give anyone who's aspiring to do what you do, give back and pay attention to people's health in that sort of way?
Be committed to the work. Um, don't go into any work that is service based with ego. It can't be about you. A lot of people want to be able to say, "I'm a personal trainer. Look at me." It ain't about me. It's not about you. It's about the client. It's about the person you're trying to serve. So make sure that you leave all that ego, leave it at the door, man. You got to be about the work, be about the service. And if you can commit to that process of saying, "I'm here for them," you're going to win. Period. I have trained and developed over 100+ trainers in my lifetime. Okay. I'm not exaggerating. And the one thing that has been consistent is the ones who commit to the work win. Those who are in it for the ego and for the money don't. It's just that simple. If you're into service, be of service. If you're looking to make money, there's a lot of other things you can do in the world that's just about making money that's going to be probably easier for you. Because there are going to be times when it's tough and you're working with someone and you want to help them succeed and you hit the walls. And if you're in it for ego, you're going to quit. You're going to quit. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get pissed off the client and say, "Look at me. You're not showing up and you're making me look bad." As opposed to recognizing that they're having a struggle. And what I want to do is be here for them, right? To say, "Hey, what do you want to do right now? Do you want to fight or do you want to quit? It's your choice. I'm here either way," right? That's a different energy than to be like, "Don't make me look bad. Go ahead and do these exercises. Listen to my instructions." It's not about that. I ain't got to hoot and holler at you,
Yeah.
So if you're in for the work and you're there for service, be of service. If you're there for the ego, leave it alone. Walk away.
And with that, that should be on a t-shirt. If you're in it for ego, then walk away.
Then walk away. Yo, I'm gonna shout out to my man Tim Gray, who's responsible for this shirt right here. I'm gonna tell him we're gonna make a new one. Time for a new shirt.
All right. Thank you so much, Adrien. Before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to share? Something we didn't go over, because I like to have my guests like who are in business for themselves, really promote their business. We a small channel, but we're growing. So this content will be here when we blow up.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, again, I want to say thank you so much for having me on here, for thinking of me and bringing me on the show. The opportunity to be in front of one more person is always an opportunity to continue to move forward. So I appreciate that. I'm definitely, looking to continue to work with people with training or with the coaching. I'm actually right now in the process of putting together a small group training program for people who are looking to get into coaching, who are looking for coaching, right? personal development coaching, but also are kind of nervous about the cost or nervous about the experience because they've never done it before. So we've opted to create a small group option that I think would be a great opportunity for folks who are unsure about the process to at least get their feet wet. I'm going to be offering a free webinar shortly on my social media so that people can actually start, doing the work on their own and seeing whether or not, us working together would be of benefit to them. You can find me on I am Coach AD at IG. That's pretty much my home space. So, people are like, you have a website? I'm like, I do, but nobody gonna go there. Like, people make websites, no one goes to their website.
Box. I'll put both.
What?
Just like I said, I'll still put in the description. I think
the website is going to send you to the IG will send you to the website so that you can enroll in the program. But overall, if you have questions, anything, thoughts, comments, please feel free to hit me on in the DMs. I'm very active with the people who communicate with me because I enjoy the work. So I definitely want to hear from folks. Anyone here, please feel free to follow. Drop me a line if you have any questions, any interest. I'm more than happy to have that conversation. And I look forward to continuing to work together, man. I'm like so used to calling you D that what I mean. Like I'm over here be like Deidre, but hit me up anytime, man. I'm here, and hopefully we can do some collaborative work to bring more of this to more people who look like us, so that they can get that information, that they can move themselves into a better place.
Yes. And I think like we're winding down the podcast, but I definitely want to bring you back for season 2 of the podcast when we start up. So I'll be hitting you up later as we kind of figure out what the content will be for season 2.
Oh, that reminds me. We have I was part of a podcast called The Compound Movement, DA Compound Movement. You were a guest on it. We have episodes in the archives. Please feel free to go check those out. There are so many gems, so many bits of information in there, and so many really high quality folks in there talking about wellness and health in that space. So please feel free, if you enjoy this content here, if you enjoy being, following and being a viewer of this show, please feel free to hop on the IG on any of your platforms and look up the Compound Movement, DA Compound Movement.
Yes, it's a good show. And if you check out deidreself.com, you'll see the post for that interview.
Yeah. Shout out to my homegirl, Chanel Gabriel, as well. She was the host on that show.
Yes. Chanel, actually, she did some promo work for some other, like some tobacco work one of my partners was doing. I was like, I know her face.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Chanel get busy.
Yes. Health and Wellness is what's up at the Compound Movement, so check them out as well. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much again, Adrien, for joining us on Masters of Health. We have one more Master of Health who has joined us and shared his experience. So for those of you who are thinking about public health, again, as many previous guests have said, you can do anything you want as long as you really want to do it. Yeah. So with that, thank you. Thank you to everyone in the chat. I saw y'all just acting out in the chat, but I'm glad y'all enjoyed the interview and got some laughs.
What they said though? I didn't see the chat.
Oh my goodness. So we were talking about the agility in an older age. Someone mentioned Akuya Bisa mentioned a video of the 85-year-old man, and Chief says he saw that video. It was very inspiring. I'm sure he falls as all skaters do, but he's probably even in tune with what he heals from and his own resiliency. And Akuya says it was inspiring, made me think I wanted to try. We all think we want to try some things, and then we fall down, but then we get back up. And then so it was suggested that Akuya try skateboarding, surface, and LSD it's in all Californians' blood. Akuya's in California. And so that was like the big joke. So I guess, willingly you tried the skating and the surfing, but maybe not the LSD.
Maybe not the drugs. Maybe not the drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Say no to drugs, kids.
So thank you so much. Thank you for everyone in the chat. This was an amazing interview. No shade to any of my interviews before, but it's always different when we get a different perspective. And today we had the perspective from a male. We got, a lot of female perspectives. So it was very, very fulfilling. Like, it was great to get that perspective from you, because it's a different energy, right?
Yeah.
And it's appreciated. So
No worries. I
give
appreciate
thanks and peace, everyone. Bye. And I'll put the information in the chat.
that. Have a good one.
Bye.